The automatic doors of the emergency ward burst open with a force that made everyone flinch. The fluorescent lights hummed, the monitors beeped, and nurses moved briskly between rooms until one long shadow stretched across the floor. Every head in the hallway turned, shoes stopped mid-step, voices died halfway through sentences. It was as if the entire hospital inhaled at once and forgot how to breathe. A towering biker, built like a wall of iron and leather, walked in with a trembling intensity burning behind his eyes. His vest carried patches that even the bravest police officers preferred not to meet on the road. But no one was looking at his face. They were looking at what was in his arms, an unconscious little girl, limp, blood smeared on her small arm, her head resting against his chest as if she belonged there. The hospital froze, not out of fear of the biker, but out of the raw, heartbreaking urgency of the moment. If you believe kindness still exists in this world and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. For a second, no one moved. Then a nurse gasped, dropped her clipboard and rushed toward him. But the biker didn't wait. He pushed forward, his heavy boots echoing sharply. His face, hardened by years of battles, roads, and reputations, was cracked open with fear. A fear no one expected from a man like him. Sweat glistened on his forehead, his breathing sharp and uneven as he held the little girl tighter, almost as if the warmth of his arms could keep her alive. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. Her pink shirt was torn, her small hand hanging motionless, her hair tangled as though she had run through chaos and lost. Her pale lips and half-closed eyes painted a picture that stabbed straight into the soul of every person watching, even without knowing the story, even without understanding why a biker gang leader carried her like his own blood. One thing was clear, this man had walked through something unimaginable to bring her here. Doctors finally snapped out of their shock and ordered a gurney. The biker gently laid the girl down, his hands trembling in a way that didn't fit the image he carried. No one dared judge him, no one whispered, no one looked away. Something about the way he hovered over her, protective, desperate, fighting back every ounce of emotion, showed that this wasn't random. This wasn't a gang incident. This wasn't violence he caused. This was something much deeper. The medical team rushed the girl through double doors, and for the first time, the biker's strength failed him. His knees buckled as he leaned against the wall, his chest tightening as if a lifetime of pain was crushing him at once. People watched from a distance, unsure, curious, afraid, yet strangely moved. Because even though they didn't know his name, they recognized the universal language of fear, the fear of losing someone who mattered. Minutes earlier, this man had been racing down an open highway with nothing but the roar of his motorcycle and wind against his face. Life for him had always been simple: survive, protect his brothers, keep his heart buried beneath layers of leather and scars. But that all changed when he saw her. Alone on the side of the road, hurt, terrified, trying to wave down passing cars. He didn't ask questions, he didn't hesitate. Something inside him responded instantly, like a switch flipping in a silent room. As he held her in his arms, she tried to speak but could barely whisper. Her eyes fluttered, and all she managed to say before losing consciousness was, "Help, please." He didn't know her, but in that moment she became his responsibility. Back in the hospital hallway, time stretched painfully slow. The biker paced up and down like a trapped animal, every step heavy with guilt and fear. People watched but didn't approach. They didn't see a criminal, they didn't see a gang member. They saw a man who cared, a man whose eyes were red with worry, a man whose hands shook every time he replayed the scene of finding her on the dirt roadside. Nurses whispered softly among themselves. Someone called security, unsure whether they needed to, and even security hesitated. They had never seen a biker leader look like a shattered father. A few minutes later, a doctor stepped out and approached him cautiously. The biker straightened up, bracing himself like he was preparing for a blow stronger than any fight he'd ever been in. The doctor explained the girl had suffered minor cuts, dehydration, and shock. She needed rest. She needed time. She would recover physically, but the doctor hinted that emotionally, things might be more complicated. She'd been missing for hours, wandering alone. No identification, no family rushing in after her. The doctor didn't say much, but the biker understood. Someone had failed her long before he found her, and something inside him, the part he thought he'd buried long ago, ignited with protective fury. The hospital staff slowly warmed to him. They noticed how he refused to leave the hallway, how he wiped his face when he thought no one was looking, how he whispered to himself, almost praying, something people like him weren't known for. They noticed how, whenever a nurse walked past, he would ask if the little girl had woken up, or if she needed anything, or if he could at least stand at the door just to make sure she wasn't alone. Night fell, and the hospital lights dimmed. The biker remained seated in a cold plastic chair, staring at the door behind which the girl slept. Memories haunted him, memories of a childhood that hadn't been kind, memories he had spent years trying to outrun on long highways, hiding behind the noise of engines. He had once been a lost child too. He knew what it felt like to call for help and hear silence. Maybe that was why he couldn't walk away from her. Maybe that was why saving her felt like saving the child he used to be. Around midnight, the girl finally woke up. She was scared at first, her breathing unsteady, her hands gripping the bedsheets tightly. Nurses tried comforting her, but she kept asking where the man was, the one who carried her, the one who promised she'd be safe now. When the biker stepped into the room, she relaxed instantly. Her small fingers reached toward him, and he moved closer, kneeling beside her bed with gentleness that didn't match his appearance. She told him her name. She told him what she remembered, and he listened without blinking, his heart tightening with every word. She had run away from someone who was supposed to protect her, not harm her. She had wandered for hours. She had been ignored by cars passing by, but he, of all people, had stopped. The biker didn't know what the future held for her. He didn't know whether the system would help her, whether the world would be kind to her, whether she'd find a safe home again. But he made her one silent promise: she would not face any of it alone. Days turned into weeks. The biker visited the hospital every single day. The staff slowly went from wary to welcoming. They realized he wasn't dangerous. He was loyal. He wasn't heartless. He was hurting. He wasn't reckless. He cared almost too much. He started bringing small things for the girl: a stuffed toy, a coloring book, a warm jacket. His gang members, who were used to seeing him fearless and untouchable, were stunned when he told them he needed their help. Not for a mission, not for turf, but for a child who had no one else. And surprisingly, they didn't question him. They supported him. They even visited her, each one awkwardly standing by her bed, unsure how to act around a child but trying their best anyway. They became her guardians, her protectors, her strange but devoted family. When the girl was finally strong enough to leave the hospital, the staff gathered in the hallway to see her off. She held the biker's hand tightly, refusing to let go. He looked down at her, uncertain if he deserved the trust she was giving him so easily. But she didn't care about his past. She cared that he was the one who stopped. He was the one who cared. He was the one who made her feel safe again. The hospital that once froze in fear now watched with softened hearts as the toughest man they had ever seen walked out, carrying the girl's backpack, holding her hand gently like she was made of glass. The double doors closed behind them, marking the beginning of a new chapter, not just for her but for him too. Life didn't magically become perfect. There were legal challenges, social workers, background checks. There were questions they couldn't always answer, but through it all, he stayed by her side. He attended meetings he never imagined attending. He filled out paperwork he could barely understand at first. He learned patience. He learned softness. He learned what it meant to fight for someone in a completely different way. And she changed him too. She softened the man the world had hardened. She gave him purpose beyond the road. She gave him something to protect, not out of obligation but out of love. Slowly, quietly, she rebuilt a heart that had been broken for years. Weeks later, he stood outside the hospital again, this time holding her in his arms, not in fear, but in gratitude. The nurses waved at her, the doctors smiled, and he promised himself that no matter how complicated life became, he would never let her walk alone again. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps keep these meaningful stories alive. Before you go, please comment below and tell me what moment in the story moved you the most. Your words matter more than you know.